Yeah, dude, I really think that mindset is everything.
Yeah.
I think mindset is the vehicle to your success, and it could also be what breaks you at the same time, because mindset is what's going to make you, it's going to give you, mindset is going to set the tone for your decision.
Yeah.
So I've had situations where at the beginning, when I started my first business in 2012, I left a collection agency that I was a manager at. I was making about 10 grand a month. 12,000, 15,000 on good months. But my minimum, like I would not make less than 10 grand. And I had a small team, and my business partner, well, at the time, he just worked with me. He wanted to start his own company. He says, you know, I want to start my own collection agency. I want you to come manage it for me. Like, make me the general manager. I'm like, I'm not going to do that, bro. Like, look, why am I going to leave a company to go to another company? I said, you want me? Make me business partner. He says, okay, I'm getting a loan from my dad for $50K. Partners. I said, 50-50, dude. All right. He says, so here's the catch. My dad's going to loan me $50,000, but I got to pay him back $150,000 within like 2 or 3 years. I said, okay, fair enough. Business partners. So coming into this, it was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life.
Fam, what's up? Welcome back to the CEO Pulse Podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. We are sitting down with none other than Mr. Mike Martinez. This guy is a hardcore entrepreneur. He's a 10X business coach. He's done incredible things, and he hopped into the real estate space in 2020. This is crazy. 4 years ago, bro. Like last year, you 5X'd or millions for your business. So it's insane, like the stuff that you've been able to do and accomplish over the last 4 years. I want to dive deep into it. If you're in the real estate space and you're following, you know, the people in social and the people who are actually doing stuff out there, right? Like, I'm sure you've come across, you know, his name. So with that being said, man, thanks for taking the time being in the podcast, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Dude, it's an honor and a pleasure. It's been you said right now, it's been a long time due. I think we met a couple of years ago through different friends, and Vic being one of them. Vic is very known in the industry. And
shout out to Vic.
Yeah, big shout out to Vic. I gave him the nickname Godfather, the Godfather of real estate, and Big Teddy Bear, you know?
Big Teddy Bear.
Yeah.
I know, dude. He looks, I tease him all the time. He looks like a mean dude, and he's so lovable.
He's the nicest. Yeah, he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life.
We're doing a live tomorrow actually here. So on real estate, that's awesome. Bro. Well, welcome to the show. Let's get right into it. I mean, you kind of showed up in the space. What were you doing before 2020? And at this point, I mean, you've done different verticals in the entrepreneur space, right? There's strengths, there's weaknesses, there's a lot of awarenesses that come across or that come along with that kind of stuff. So I have a couple of particular questions that I want to ask you about, but give us some insight and some as to your background before 2020. How did it build up to this, to the point where you're at?
So my main business, I guess you could say my trade, what I'm an expert at, is debt collections. Yeah. That's my industry. I opened my first agency in 2012. I got into the business in 2005. I opened my first agency, my own company, my own business in 2012. And everything was good. I was coasting. I started with 4 people, and I got up to about 35 employees in 2-3 years. And I hired a good GM, so I kind of handed the reins over to him in 2016. So for 4 years, I was just building the company, kind of finding what works for me. And then in 2016, I kind of handed the operation over to GM, and I was just spending all time with family, with my kids, being a baseball coach dad and all that stuff. And I was just kind of enjoying the money I was making. I was making like $300 to $500K a year. I was traveling. I got married. I bought a house. I was like living the absentee owner life. Yeah. And I would go to Christmas parties. We throw Christmas parties. My employees didn't even know who I was. They're like, I thought the white guy was the owner. I'm like, no, that's the general manager. I'm the owner. And 2019, I caught a lawsuit by Navy Federal Credit Union. Almost put me out of business. I literally had like $40K in the bank at the end of 2019, I had 35 employees, 40K in the bank. I'm like, I don't even know how I survived, bro. I don't know how I survived.
Dude, that's a very short runway. Yeah.
So in beginning of 2020, after, on New Year's, after a bottle of tequila, talking to God, I'm like, okay, something has to change. I got to do something. I found wholesaling through Chris the Shark. He was my first mentor. I went to my very first event, my very first seminar, never been to an event, hired him as a mentor. And all of a sudden I discovered real estate wholesaling. I thought my theory was if I could do debt collections, like I could wholesale houses.
Yeah, you can figure it out. Yeah,
I'll figure it out. So that's kind of how I got into it, bro. And how I came from debt collections.
Do you still have the that company still up and running, or is that something that you?
No, I saved it. That's my baby, dude. I did 18.5 million last year in debt collections. That's what made me rich. That's what makes me, successful. That's where most of my success comes from. So what happened is in 2020, I was already giving up. I wanted to get out of collections. I wanted to go full time in real estate and just let my collection agency go and shut it down.
Yeah.
But when I started learning some of the strategies from real estate wholesaling, it really opened my eyes and it introduced me to self-development. So once I started getting around entrepreneurs in the real estate wholesaling space, they started talking about, Think and Grow Rich and read this book and do that. And these entrepreneurs.
You drank the juice, homie.
Dude, all these entrepreneurs were preaching about how
it's the best juice.
Dude, serious. And then I started learning about KPIs.
Yeah.
I started learning about marketing, like text blasting and using VAs. So I started applying some of this stuff to my collection agency.
Yeah.
And this is when COVID hit, by the way. I seen agencies going out of business and mine broke a record. I did my first $1 million in a month.
Wow.
Through VAs, text blasting in my collection agency, looking at KPIs, looking at liquidation, portfolio liquidation reports, like what debt performs better. I had no idea prior to me studying real estate wholesaling operations.
Man, that's it's got to be the prime example of getting out of your cubicle, right? Mental cubicle. Into other areas and learn and adopt from different verticals. Like it happens all the time. Like big entrepreneurs do it. One of the most common practices that it's really not like mainstream or whatnot. But for example, festivals, right? Like you have the Burning Man and all that stuff. Yeah. They set up tents, bro, where entrepreneurs just meet from different businesses, different verticals, completely different industries, and they start exchanging like different strategies and whatnot. It's like, shit, man, you can borrow something from here and apply it and plug it into this other strategy. And
10x business coach. That's why I became a 10x business coach, because I seen that. Right now, my greatest, most impactful mentor has been Brandon Dawson.
Yeah.
He's Grant Cardone's business partner, CEO of Cardone Ventures. I realized that immediately when I started taking strategies from real estate wholesaling and applying them to debt collections.
Yeah.
And then I started taking strategies from debt collections into real estate as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, skip tracing.
Yeah.
Skip tracing in real estate, before I entered the game, it sucked. It sucked. I tried them. I'm like, well, I'm going to try what they're doing because it's working for them. I'm like, this is horrible skip tracing. Like, I'm licensed through the credit bureaus. I own Data Skip. I'm like, dude, this is horrible. I'm just going to use my collection skip tracing. And then all of a sudden, I started getting contact. I started using the dialers that I used, the predictive dialer that I used in collections.
Yeah.
And I would get more contact than these other ones that everyone was using. So, like, use something that works and apply it over here. Use something that works and apply it over here.
It's interesting how sometimes just like a small pivot, right? A twist on on what we're doing already. Can come in and then just plug into that bottom line, man, and just help you see a lot of stuff that you weren't seeing before.
Yeah,
right?
Dude, it gives you a different perspective on when you're failing at something, and then you see it being successful even in another industry. So now everything that I look at it from a business standpoint, from a high level. I'm like, okay, perfect example. My accountant is now my CFO. So she's done great work for me. I've referred her to a lot of people, Art Sanchez, Carlos Reyes, Amir, all these guys that are in the industry, even guys, a guy that owns a staffing agency that does like big revenue, right? And she does a great job for them. So I was struggling, and I didn't even know I was struggling, but I was struggling organizing my finances for my business and financial allocation of a business until Brandon Dawson's finance team showed me. So then I brought her on as my CFO. Once we started building a stronger relationship, she started telling me that she wasn't doing good revenue-wise. She goes, I'm a great accountant and CFO, but my business is struggling. So I said, okay, well, let's look at it.
Yeah.
Now we're partnering up. And she goes, oh my God, Mike, like, where do you know all this shit from? I'm like, well, I run like 4 companies and they're all profitable.
Yeah.
Like, they're all over $1 million. Like, you know, I go, there's no reason why any business should be doing under $1 million. Like, there is no reason why if you can't get over $1 million and you can't figure it out like your first couple of years, you're in the wrong business. Just get out. Straight up.
Do you think it's that, or it's a lack of awareness on like the best practices, the standards, the process itself, or
The first thing people have to consider is the market opportunity. If there is no market opportunity, I learned that from Brandon Dawson.
Yeah.
If there is no market opportunity, don't even open a business. Like, is there a demand for what you want? So before anybody opens a business, they should consider, is there any market opportunity there? In real estate wholesaling, we know there is.
Yeah.
That's why anybody can come in and do $1 million.
Dude, it's crazy. I mean, the barrier to entry is super, super low, right? And I think that's what kind of created the stigma too, because it's easy to get into. So you have a lot of people who have no idea what the fuck they're doing,
Yeah.
and kind of, you know, break it for the rest in terms of, you know, taking advantage or, you know, presenting bad offers, not coming through. So it's built a reputation over the years. With that being said, I feel like there's more legitimacy going into that space now. Like there's self-regulation. There's, you know, it's becoming more of an accepted thing and the cool thing to do, as opposed to just kind of shooting from the hip all the time. It's like, oh, you have an actual op? Like, shit, man, that's good. And then, you know, the masterminds that are popping up, right? For example, I was at a mastermind last night with, you know, some of the, you know, biggest killers here in town. And it's an exchange of ideas. It's you know, okay, this is working for me. This is not working. And I feel like, you know, as we're, you know, racing the tide, all the boats are coming up with it. And I mean, it's a really, really cool thing to see. At the end of the day, it really comes down, like, we don't know what we don't know. If you're an entrepreneur and you're struggling, you're sitting there and your ego's getting in the way and you have this big fat, you know, shadow in front of you, just understand that it's you not reaching out. There's people who already walked the path, right? There's, you know, people with experiences, for example, yourself, and you know, help is out there. Like, we just have to be willing to pick up our head and see it.
Yeah. 3 things that come to mind. Number 1 is, you're absolutely right. There's more professional individuals entering this space. Yeah. Number 2 is coming from another industry and now other industries, because now I have several other businesses. But coming from another industry, there's a lot of camaraderie that happens in real estate wholesaling. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of camaraderie. You don't see that in other industries.
That's crazy.
I just went to the biggest debt collection conference at the beginning of this month in Vegas, and all the big wigs are there. Like, you got the biggest agency. The biggest agency owners don't show up. They send their teams.
Yeah.
But everyone's friends at the bar, but they don't help each other. Yeah. Like, they're not sharing trade secrets of what's working and what's not. There is no camaraderie in that sense. There is, you know, I'll have a drink with you,
yeah,
but they're not talking about like strategy like we do in real estate. And then the last thing is ego. You said ego, right? I struggled with that. I still do. I got to check myself, because when you make a certain amount of money, like, I get messages on Instagram where people are trying to pitch me, right? They'll put, for example, they'll put, can I give you a suggestion? Right? Yeah. And then my ego gets defensive, and my ego says, did you make 20 million last year? No, then fucking no, you can't. Yeah. You know? And I think that's the mindset of an entrepreneur. Like, one thing I will say, take it for whatever it's worth, right? If you're not making at least $1 million a year with 1 or 2 employees, with at least, and this is the 10X business coach side of me talking, right? Yeah. With at least a 25% profit margin or higher.
Yeah.
Okay? you have no place for not even 1 inch of ego, because you don't know anything. Like, you haven't figured anything out. And even if you're at 10 million, 20 million, and you're at a 40, 50% profit margin, are you a billionaire?
Yeah.
And even if you're a billionaire, how many billions do you have?
Yeah.
So there's always room.
There's always that next level.
Yeah,
man.
there's
Like,
always room to learn and to humble yourself.
ego is not your amigo.
Oh, shit, I never heard that. That's
Ego
good.
is not your amigo. It's a big lesson, man. That it took it a minute to get through my thick skull, but once you realize that, like, you put, and I'll speak for myself when I say you, right? But it's all the things and the stigmas and the shit that I thought I had dialed in, right? It's set aside. And when I put that, that baggage, that bag of I knows, quote unquote, aside, and I open my perspective to see how things are actually, operating in other people's businesses, how other people are doing other stuff, right? And reaching out, dude, it's like, wow, it's golden nugget after golden nugget after golden nugget. Like, even though I coach a lot of people, like, I still learn every single day. Like, that process never stops. Ego has to be, the small little voice that you can tame, and then you just put aside, right? So
Yeah, I'm addicted to knowledge right now. A thought that I get frequently in my mind is that I'm addicted to knowledge, and I'm a learning machine. So I'll literally, be walking out of the gym, and I don't listen to music anymore at the gym on my AirPods. I'm listening to books. That gives me an opportunity to take down one audiobook a week. Yeah. If you're working out 1 or 2 hours a day, you should be able to get through an audiobook in 1 week. So when I'm putting my AirPods away and I'm walking out the gym, I think to myself, I'm a freaking learning machine, right? So I'm programming my mind to think like that, to have an appetite to learn more. And dude, I'm telling you, like, they say that the average entrepreneur reads, have you heard that?
Yeah.
60 books a year.
Yeah, 60 books or a book a week.
A book a week.
Yeah.
So I shared that with my vice president of operations, because I said, well, what do you want to do, in the next few years? Like, what does your heart really want in life? Like, where do you see yourself in 2 years, 3 years? And I wasn't expecting the response. She says, I want to be just like you. I'm like, oh shit. She goes, I said, then are you prepared to read a book a week?
Yeah.
Like, are you prepared to just become a freaking, like, appetite, a hunger for knowledge every second? Are you prepared for that? Because that's the only way you're going to be you can have a title CEO.
Yeah.
Go file DBA, bro. You're a CEO.
You can be your own CEO.
Whatever, dude. Right? But to be like a real CEO, to live up to Chief Executive Officer, to live up to that name and that title, like, you got to do some shit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One thing that I like, and it's very similar, man. I do the same thing. I do audiobooks, go to gym, and I throw those in. And I do Notion, the app, so for notes and just bullet points and stuff like that. So I like to do that, and then I buy the actual physical copy of the book that I'm reading too. So I'll do both. I'll read and I'll listen to the thing. So if I stop listening at a certain point of the book, I'll get home and I'll wrap it up, or whatnot. But I like to have that combination of the two. Now, with that being said, like, there's some magic to it when you have contradicting perspectives in, for example, two different books, right? Books are normally very biased to that, particular book's opinion and whatnot. But when you pick something that's totally on the opposite side of that thing, for example, I don't know, pick a book on organization, right? And it's going to show you like 1,001 ways to organize, stuff. And then you pick up another book on simplicity and essentialism, right? It's like, man, they both feel right. But what happens by default, inevitably, right? We synthesize that information and we come up with our own version of it. So it's a great way of forcing us to spark up that critical thinking process.
I hate to bring up religion, but in 2020, when I started my journey on self-development, I struggled with this, and I haven't shared this with too many people, but I struggled with this because I've always been a strong believer of God, church, Christ. So when I started reading books like Napoleon Hill the law of attraction, it kind of throws you off a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're like, wait, I'm hardcore Jesus, bro. What do you
Yeah.
mean the universe? Like, what do you mean I know that's God.
Check yourself
I
before
know
you
that's
wreck
God,
yourself,
but
yeah.
you're saying that prayer doesn't
Yeah.
work? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So I did exactly what you said. I kind of created my own theology. I
Yeah.
created my own theory. It's like, no, the universe is God.
Yeah.
The law of attraction does work. That's your form of prayer,
Right.
right? But instead of sitting there asking for things out of desperation,
Yeah.
don't ask for anything. Just be grateful for what you have and be grateful for what's coming.
Yeah.
That is your prayer. That's your form of prayer. So I kind of took this and I kind of created the Mike Martinez theory.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it, dude. Well, it's impossible not to do that kind of stuff, right? Because you can't agree full-heartedly with two opposing viewpoints. Like if one's on one extreme, the other one's on the other extreme. I mean, and for example, that's one topic. But if they're like at the opposite sides of the pendulum, like you have to come up with your own thing. It's gonna force you to have your own, belief behind it, and that's what I love about just the clashing, right? Like ideas when it comes to reading, when it comes to books, when it comes to seminars and trainings. I used to get triggered, bro. I would go to seminars and hear somebody say, oh, you do this way and whatnot. And if like I'd be in the industry for years. I was like, no, that's bullshit. Don't do it that way. But that was a trigger. It was a reactionary thing, right? And again, the ego just kind of blinding because I knew it all. I had. And frankly speaking, like there was a lot of stuff that I needed to fix in my business. At that point, I'm thinking of one situation in particular, and it's like just be open, right, to the possibilities. Leave enough room in your mind for the possibilities, and it's incredible what happens. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I'm so open-minded now. It's I go to events and they ask me to speak at a lot of events. I'm speaking at a meetup right after this. And I always look to the other speakers as well to see what I can gain from them, and even the people that are asking me questions afterwards. Because when you speak at an event afterwards, they attack you. They're like, oh,
right.
let me try to gain some knowledge from you. Yeah, cool. And then I start asking them questions. Well, what's your revenue?
Yeah.
And how many employees do you have? Those are questions that a 10X coach should be asking you, like Brandon Dawson. If you talk to Brandon Dawson, Grant Cardone's business partner, that's the first thing he's going to ask you when you say, well, my business is struggling. Okay, hold on. What was your revenue last year?
Yeah.
It was this much. How many employees? It was this much. Do you know your net? Because most people running a business don't even know their net.
I made 15 million.
Yeah.
Like, how much did you keep?
Well, yeah. What was your net? Well, and then this is where you catch them. They're like, I think. So you're not sure? Like that's what I think means is I'm not sure. But anyways, the point is that asking them those questions, you learn about their business.
Yeah.
Now, what happens if they tell you, I did $3 million last year. My net was 70%, and I did it with 3 employees.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, damn, bro, what business are you in?
Yeah.
I want to get in that business where each employee generates $1 million of revenue per employee, and then you guys are making 70% net. So now, and you learn from different, and now that's a good business. That business sucks. I ain't getting in the restaurant business. That business sucks, right? But you learn from everyone is the point. You learn from everyone.
100%, man. Couldn't agree more. Walk me through your thought process when it comes to adversity. I mean, you've been through it all. You had a business since early on in the 2000s. Granted, it was different vertical debt collection. It can't be an easy thing to be collecting debt, right, left and right. So I mean, you're battle tested. As we're going through the process of building and bootstrapping the business, I don't know if that was your case. That was my case, definitely my first one. But I mean, we go through a lot of mental adjustment. The mindset really becomes one of the greatest weaknesses or the strongest tools, depending on how we approach it. Tell me about maybe the one or two situations where you felt broken and how you went about recollecting yourself and picking it all.
Yeah, dude, I really think that mindset is everything.
Yeah.
I think mindset is the vehicle to your success, and it could also be what breaks you at the same time, because mindset is what's going to make you, it's going to give you mindset is going to set the tone for your decision.
Yeah.
So I've had situations where at the beginning, when I started my first business in 2012, I left a collection agency that I was a manager at. I was making about 10 grand a month, 12,000, 15,000 on good months. But my minimum, like I would not make less than 10 grand. And I had a small team, and my business partner, well, at the time, he just worked with me. He wanted to start his own company. He says, I want to start my own collection agency. I want you to come manage it for me. Like, make me the general manager. I'm like, I'm not going to do that, bro. Like, look, why am I going to leave a company to go to another company?
Right.
I said, you want me? Make me business partner. He says, okay, I'm getting a loan from my dad for $50K. Partners. I said, 50-50, dude. All right. He says, so here's the catch. My dad's going to loan me $50,000, but I got to pay him back $150,000 within like 2 or 3 years. I said, okay, fair enough. Business partners. So coming into this, it was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life, bro.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm scared shitless of like bungee jumping and jumping out of airplanes. This was scarier than that, right? Because I had a certain lifestyle. I had a little Lexus, I had a little condo, like my wife, my kids, we had a decent lifestyle. Now, mind you, I was an employee mindset, but I'm like, dude, this is super scary. My wife, now you ask her today, she'll tell you, it's not that I didn't want you to start that business. It's that I didn't want you to start a business with a partner. And now today I have partners, but I'm always majority in any business that I do. So with that, it was the scariest thing I've ever faced in my life. So you have to have courage.
Yeah.
If you're going to go into business for yourself, especially, bro, like you hear the expression, burn the boats, right?
Yeah.
That's essentially what I did, because I couldn't go back to the company. They found out I was starting a business with my buddy, and they said, if you leave, you're not coming back, just so you know.
Conflict of interest.
Exactly. So that was one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life, even up until today. That was one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life. So that takes mental toughness. It takes courage to do that. Not just from you, but from your family.
Yeah.
Because my wife could have said, don't do it. At the beginning, she was hesitant, but she says, I'm scared. I don't like the idea of you starting your own company with a buddy. I don't like the idea, but I'm going to support you 100%. I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing it, because if it's not now, it's never.
Yeah.
And I did it, and everything worked out. But mindset is where it all starts, dude, because you could talk yourself out of it. You could say, nah, I'm going to be a little bitch. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can come up with a problem to a resolution. I mean, and we see that often. We see that all the time with especially with new entrepreneurs, right? People getting into it. There's always, I feel like at the beginning of it, there's a state of euphoria that we normally get just like enamored with. It's like, fuck, man, projections and this and that, and I'm going to be a bazillionaire in a year and a half, and the potentiality of the business and all that stuff. And then we get hit with challenges. We get hit with the real stuff. I feel like that's where true character is really tested, right? Character is how we show up on a hard day. And I mean, we see, I mean, there's a lot of fallout. Somebody starts a business, 6 months later, they're back at a 9 to 5. It's not the easiest thing. Just understand that like if you're getting into the space of entrepreneurship and launching, it doesn't matter what vertical you're in, right? The nuts and bolts of the systems, the processes, the accounting, and all that stuff. That's very important, but it's secondary to the you. You are the business. You are the X factor. You are the secret weapon. Understand that when you're building a business, it's really like you are the centerpiece of that thing that's going to keep the thing standing. So.
Yeah, I would also say when they're getting into business, focus on the things that are revenue generating, like the priorities, and don't be scared that it's not perfect, because there is no such thing.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to my wife yesterday about starting another company, right? And I told her, I'm fully committed. I can't do it. She runs our real estate company. I made her CEO back in September of last year. I stepped out of real estate. I'm her advisor. So I'm there, like I basically direct traffic, but I'm not involved in the business anymore. So I stepped out. She's doing freaking amazing. We got like 11 deals right now in escrow. We got 300,000 projected to close in March. We're already over 200,000 for the year, so that'll put us at 500K in revenue.
Nice.
So I told her, I said,
Q1, wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I said, I feel like you got it under control already, baby. I feel like you got it under control. I said, are you ready to take on this other project? I said, but I need you to be completely honest with me. If you're not, it's okay. Like, I don't want you stressing. I want you focused on real estate. If you are, though, and you're confident, like, let's go. And she says, I am confident. I am ready. However, she says, I need to check on this, and I need to check on that, and I need to make sure that this is ready. And I said, okay. I said, so basically what you're telling me is that you want to over-prepare to make it perfect, which is never going to happen.
Yeah.
I said, so if you keep thinking like that, it's going to take you like a year or 2 years or 3 years, or never is going to happen, right? So it's not going to be perfect. I said, if you're ready, how confident are you to launch? Like, if I told you got to launch this business next week, how confident are you on a scale from 1 to 10? She goes, I'm a 9.5. I go, what will get you to a 10? She goes, well, it's just this little thing, these little things. I said, I'll tell you right now, those fucking little things ain't anything compared to your 9.5 confidence and readiness.
Yeah.
Those little things, we'll figure them out. I learned this from Grant Cardone. So overpromise and overdeliver, even if you're not ready. You know, Cardone Enterprises and Cardone Ventures, bro, what they do is they launch products without even making the product or having it ready.
Yeah.
And they sell out, and then they're like, oh shit, we just sold out. We should probably start working on that.
Yeah. Well, you have, I mean, I think it goes back to the first thing that you talked about, which is the demand, right? We were talking about demand in real estate, but when you put something out there like that, it's coaching. The coaching space is, I mean, at least for me, the first time I rolled out a coaching program, that was, very similar. I wanted to have the entire thing, carved out, and then I sat down with somebody who knew a lot more than I did. I was like, no, just build the first couple of weeks, and then just stay ahead of the students, because they're gonna tell you what they need. Like, you think people need a certain thing, but when we put it out and we get feedback, right? And I feel like that's what creates, a lot of these products and stuff that sometimes we're biased to. And you're absolutely right. I was reading, I read a book, 6 Principles of Creation, I think, by Leonardo, or not by Leonardo da Vinci, but it was like 6 principles that he used to apply, like on his, after studying all the notebooks and all that stuff. And one of them was deploying and being okay with imperfection, right? So the thought process behind it was build something to 80%. Right, where you feel comfortable with it. Like, okay, this thing is 80% ready, 75% ready, and then let it out. Then when you let it out, and then beta version or whatnot, you're gonna get some feedback on it. And they can come back, fine and tweak it and fine tune it and whatnot. I used to procrastinate a lot on the stuff too. Like, man, this is not ready. It's not ready for launch. And I would sit with stuff, and then that emotion that we have behind the product or behind the project starts to dim. Man, it's all like it's borrowed.
Your excitement.
The excitement starts to, dissipate little by little if we don't, act fast.
So I think people that are highly analytical, like you, struggle with that. I'm a very high I and a high D. Yeah. So I'm high driver, high influencer. I'm not very analytical, and I'm not very cautious. Okay? So my wife balances me perfectly because she's the exact opposite. She's very high analytical and very high caution. So the problem with that is if you don't have a driver like pushing you to get things done, you don't.
100%. Yeah.
So that's where I serve very well as her advisor in the real estate team, because I'm always telling her, like, okay, you have to do. We're big on all my companies. I learned this secret at the beginning of last year, doing personal, professional, financial goals. I learned from Brandon Dawson. Doing that with your team will change it. Your team starts treating the company like they own it. So I keep telling her, have you done your PPFs with your whole organization? She goes, I have with my leadership team. I say, what about everyone else?
Yeah.
Your leadership team is not the one on the phones. Like you're leaving out the most important team members.
Frontline.
Your leadership team is not the most important members. Yeah. They are important, but they don't drive the company. The people that drive the company are the technicians that are on the front line on the phones. They're the ones that you need to motivate and inspire before everyone else. Executives already get paid. Leaders already get paid. pretty well. They're money motivated. The other people that are not making as much money need your attention and inspiration. You know, she's like, yeah, I need to get around to that.
Huge.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I learned a lot of this stuff from Cardone Ventures, dude. I was very ignorant early on in, you know, I went to college to study to be a paralegal. Like I wanted to be a lawyer. Bro, what is that gonna teach you? Like, what is that gonna teach you, bro? So I had to learn business the hard way on my own. And then it's when I started hiring coaches and mentors in self-development and reading business books, and then you know, they say that the teacher will appear when the student is ready. So when I started really taking like my business scale serious, all of a sudden Brandon Dawson appears in my life, and I'm like, okay, that's gonna be my mentor right there. Yeah. And I just learned from him, and then he introduced me to Grant Cardone, and I'm like, okay, Grant's the godfather of business, and they taught me people drive your business. Business doesn't drive people. People drive your business.
100%.
So now I'm all focused on employees, and what happens is I can't stop scaling, bro. It's just boom. It's like a snowball effect on my companies. People want to work for me. Yeah. You know.
It's interesting how when we start or we go through the build-up process, we hit this pivot point where we're kind of pushing, you know, the thing. We're pushing the cart, right? And then you get to a point where like the thing starts pulling you, and then you just have to keep up with it. It's a really interesting thing when that happens. When you start to see traction, you're able to step away little by little and kind of regain some of that freedom back. I mean, it's a beautiful thing when it comes to business, right? I feel like that's one thing that we should all aim for when we're building all these things. You know, there's passion, there's contribution, there's a lot of factors that play into, you know, the entrepreneur role. At the end of the day, though, like self-interest is never going to be one of those things that fades away. Like we have to be real about it, right? Put yourself in a space that you're enjoying the activities that you're doing, you're enjoying the people around you, and that thing's gonna start feeding itself. I mean, it's interesting how it works. I was not wired like that. It's something that I learned too, and it's just like I did not understand that business worked that way.
I think the more people you're responsible for helping win, the more money they make.
Yeah.
The more your business starts growing, and the more money you make. And you can stop worrying about that. Like we have targets and we have goals. Like I'm big on targets, I'm big on goals. I was never obsessed with targets and goals and my team winning and their personal, professional, and financial goals. I was never obsessed with that stuff until I came across the Cardone teachings. And as I focus now on my targets, I focus on setting targets and doing anything that I can in my power to contribute to my team hitting targets and their personal, professional, and financial goals. Like that's my main focus now. I don't even worry about, you know, the financial side of it, because business owners and entrepreneurs, everybody has it all twisted, bro. First, they worry about finance, then they worry about operations, then they worry about culture. I do it backwards. First, I worry about culture, then I worry about operations, then the finance. It works itself out.
Yeah.
As long as you set up the recipe the right way from the beginning, I'm talking about like your pay scales and, you know, your pay structure. If you set it up the right way from the beginning, finance is going to work itself out.
Yeah.
It's going to work itself out. You don't have to worry about that. But entrepreneurs are so worried about the money. Like the money, I need the money. That's why I stress all night, and that's why I work all these hours for the money. Really, bro? Why don't you try shifting your mindset and focus on helping your team members win and growing your team, and the money will come.
Yeah.
That's how I
byproduct. It's interesting. I don't know about yourself, but when I first got into business, I got into it because I was chasing the dollar very much. I left the fire department to start my own business because I was after it, right? A couple of years later, I realized that entire time I was in survival mode. So I had this survival mode mentality, and I was like, man, I just gotta, I gotta get out of the grind. And I was caught in this train of thought. I put in a lot of the work. Did well, and then got out of survival mode. Just my brain didn't register, so I was still operating the same way for years to come. was like still on survival mode, still chasing that thing. And then it hit, I went through a burnout phase when I was around 27, 28, and it really hit me in a bad way, right? So I lost like the drive. I didn't want to show up to my own office. It was a shitty scenario for me, and I'm not that type of guy. So that's when I realized, like, man, I gotta, there's my priorities, my focus, my center of focus is off. I'm focusing on the wrong thing. And then I went and reworked the entire thing to make it, right, the culture, begin to matter, because it didn't, like, realistically, like, okay, everybody's making money, everybody's like I was building a dead end job. That's what I was building, right? And not until I really broke down mentally, not in a crazy way, but like
inside to yourself,
secretly, and that type of way. That's when I realized, like, man, things got to shift, and businesses has to be like, there has to be another way, right? Like, I know it can be a space where people thrive, where people are actually happy, where people are actually enjoying, what they're doing. The vehicle that we choose, it can be real estate, it can be something else, right? But the culture is really what's going to be the cohesiveness of the entire operation.
So I think you replace survival mindset. You replace that with growth mode.
Yeah.
Okay? With growth mode. And then from growth mode, all you have to worry about while you're in growth mode is don't break. Don't break it. Don't break what we're building. Yeah. And then as long as you see it's not breaking, then you remain in growth mode. Okay, just don't break. All right? Now we're still in growth mode. Just don't break. We're still in growth mode. And if you adapt that mindset, I heard from a billionaire. I was at the 9-figure boardroom, Brandon Dawson's mastermind. It was a 9-figure boardroom last weekend here in Scottsdale. And he brought in a billionaire. And this guy built a bunch of gyms in LA. And he sold his gyms to LA Fitness. And then he moved to Taiwan and he started a franchise in Taiwan. Now he's like one of the biggest franchises for gyms in the whole world. So he flew in and he spoke about this. So whenever he would recruit people at the beginning of his career, they would come in and he doesn't have anything impressive to convince his new recruits, right? He has nothing impressive to convince them. So what he says is, we're going to generate, $3 to $5 million here, just this one little gym. Right now, I'm excited for you because you're coming on at the perfect time because we're in growth mode.
Yeah.
Right? He says, I never thought of survival mode. That's what triggered this thought right now because you said survival mode. He says, I never had the survival mode mindset. I always had the growth mode mindset, and people attract to growth. Yeah. So he would say, I promise you, okay? I don't know if I'm going to hire you yet, but I promise you, if you join this team, it's going to be the biggest growth you've ever had in your life. So I adopted that mindset as well. Like, my team needs to always be growing. I set targets, and I told my team, I had an executive meeting last week, and I said, there's a new rule I'm implementing today. I said, I just came back from the 9-figure boardroom. There's a new rule that I'm implementing today. They're like, oh God, what is it?
Here we go again.
What is it? I said, we are no longer ever going to go below our previous month's revenue ever again. I said, because we're in growth mode, we're not in survival mode.
Yeah.
So every month, even if it's $1, so I did like 1.617 last month in January. Well, in my collection agency, I have a 1.617. I said, I need 1.618 or above. So yesterday, we crossed 1.745. As of today, we should be at like 1.8, 1.9, right?
Yeah.
So I told my executives, I said, you guys get your an additional bonus at 1.8. I go, it's not going to affect me, guys. Like, if we finish at 1.5,
yeah,
I still fucking made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, I want you guys to get your bonus. It's not about me. It's about you. I promise you. You have my word. I promise you. I want you guys to get your extra bonuses. They're like, we're going to get it, boss.
Let's get it.
And they did, so.
That's incredible, man. Merit based. I mean, I think it incentivizes the right people, but it's a big, powerful way of thinking, right? Staying on that growth mode, staying on that, what's the next level? Not necessarily that I feel like it can be misunderstood like as maybe greed but it's got nothing to do with that. I feel like when we're in a possibility of just growing and improving upon ourselves and then elevating the people around us, like why would we not do that? Why would we hold ourselves back from that kind of that kind of stuff because of some limiting belief, some limited thinking?
No one wants to be part of something small.
Yeah.
Like no one wants to be part of that.
Yeah.
You go into a company and you see, let's say you go into an insurance agency and you go in there and you have a Ferrari. You have a Ferrari that's, $600,000 and you need good insurance for it. And you go into an office that has no sign. Their desks are from the 80s. There's two people there. Like, are you really going to buy your insurance for your Ferrari there?
Yeah.
You're probably not. You're going to be like, what the fuck is this?
Wrong
place, right? So
Yeah.
no one wants to be a part of that. Those two people that are there, it's probably a husband and wife that doesn't know how to grow their business because they don't know how to handle people. They don't know how to build culture, and they don't give a shit about anybody else winning but them.
Yeah.
That's why they can't grow.
Yeah.
Like once you start refocusing on, dude, how can I make other people win? So I haven't shared this with a lot of people because this is a new goal that's arising from my heart and my spirit. It's a new goal that's arising. I want to create millionaires. Like I just thought about that the last few weeks. I'm like, you know what? My new goal in life is, let me see how many millionaires I could create.
Yeah.
Like in the next 10 years. Like it'd be cool to see like, I'm already doing well. I'm not done. I'm just getting started, but I'm already doing well. Like there's only one place for me is up.
Yeah.
Right. Let me see how many people I could pull up with me. It'd be cool to see how many millionaires I could literally create in the next 10 years.
That, man, and think about the ripple effects, right? When you help somebody improve their life that way, you're not just doing the helping them on the pragmatic side. You're also, there's some mental rewiring usually that's happening at the same time. So I think about the ripple effects. I think about the mindset shifts and changes that happen when people are going through a process like that. And then I think about their kids. I think about like their kids and their legacy. Like, man, it's incredible. Like you just never know when an effort like that or a purpose like that can end up, landing like decades into it. So
it'd be pretty cool to advertise yourself like that too. They're like, hey, what's up, man? Mike, how you doing? Yeah, what do you do? Oh, I create millionaires.
Yeah. Like wait, what?
I create millionaires. They're like,
yeah.
Can you show me how? Absolutely.
Sign me up, boss. No, that's awesome, dude. I love your energy. You always bring it. I follow you on social media too. Like we're, send messages, every now and then, and whatnot. And your character's always there. You're always, hanging out on a cool boat and just living life.
Thanks,
and I think it's the stigma of entrepreneurs having to suffer through the business and yes, we do. Like, don't get me wrong, there's gonna be tough times, right? Like we have to put in the work, but also like we have to understand that the overall purpose is to enjoy the stuff that we're actually doing, right? So
dude, I like to think of ourselves, some of us, right? Like we make it look easy.
Yeah.
We make it look easy, bro. I've came to terms with the fact that business is my life.
Yeah.
It was pretty scary like 3 or 4 years ago when I had to get back into the game and I lost my general manager and my mindset shifted and I addressed certain problems in my company and I lost my general manager that was running the company for me. I lost him. So that was another scary part of my journey as an entrepreneur. But I stepped into the spotlight and building my real estate wholesaling company, working on self-development, learning how to run a real business, not messing around, like a real business, taking it serious. I had some thoughts that were pretty scary. It's like I'm always working. It could be midnight and I'm having thoughts of business. It could, like you have you have an anxiety moment where you're like, holy shit, like this is my life. Like I'm a business. I am, like Jay-Z says, I am a business. I don't have a business. I'm a freaking business. Like my mind is 24/7 business,
Yeah.
right? And then you think and you're like, but it's also pretty freaking rewarding. Like look at how many people I'm giving opportunity. And every night I pray. I don't pray the old way anymore. I learned how to pray the new way. I don't ask for anything. I thank God for everything.
Yeah.
I don't ask God for anything. I don't, God, please help me fix this flat tire. I don't pray like that. I'm like, God, thank you for this flat tire. I'm gonna get a little workout in real quick. You know?
Yeah.
So I shift my mindset, and I'm grateful for everything now. So that's really what I tend to focus on, and that will change everything for anybody that wants to get in business that gets discouraged because you're working 24/7 and you're facing some challenges and there's hard times. But you know what? I also get to chill on a yacht. I get to eat at Nobu on a Tuesday night if I want to. You know, I get to change my tire when I get a flat tire.
Yeah.
I get to do it.
Yeah.
And it's mindset, bro.
I love that, man. I love that. And I think people can create a certain image, right, of you know, whatever we present on social and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of internal reflection that goes into the day-to-day of entrepreneurship. You do it very well. It's refreshing, right, to understand that like there's a certain degree of counterbalance to everything that we do. Yeah, we go hard, but you know we get to play this way as well. One common denominator that I see in everybody who's successful, and I'm not afraid of like putting this out there, but it's the gratitude. That's one common. Every single person that I know is successful, they lead with gratitude, right? With value add all the time and whatnot, but gratitude. It's a thank you about everything. Yeah. Whether it's a shitty situation, it's a good situation. It's always a thank you. It's a positive energy, man, that's going out there, and inevitably, like it comes back. So,
yeah, I like to say that I pray every night, but it's really not prayer. It's just a gratitude statement.
Yeah.
You can call him whatever you want. You can say God, you could say the universe, you can say Jesus, call him Buddha, call him whatever you want. But every single night, my wife and I, before we go to sleep, we hold hands and we pray gratitude. I say, God, thank you for blessing me with health. That's the most important thing in life, and I recognize it. Thank you for my team. Thank you for my kids' health. Thank you for their excitement and joy and memories that we create every single day. It's all, basically 5 minutes of just thank you. And at the end, I say, God, I'm not here to ask for anything. I promise you, I'm not here to ask. I just want you to know that I'm really grateful for everything. And I'm excited because you're just getting started, And I sleep like a baby every night.
Nice. That's an added benefit. Before we start wrapping up, I do one thing, man. I started doing this years ago. But the power of thank you, like the phrase thank you, it's very, very powerful. Try saying thank you in an honest way and still be mad. Like it's hard, right? So I started the stairs in my house. There's 15 of them. Right? Like now I know because I counted, but I would go downstairs and I would say thank you. Going just walking downstairs, and then walking upstairs is always thank you. So I don't know. It's just something that I started. It's a quirky thing I started doing years ago. So now it's a common thing. I'll hit stairs, and it's just by default my brain starts saying thank you. It's like learned, behavior now. It's programmed in there. But even if it's not at home. I'll get on stairs and dude, like 90% of the time my brain goes to thank you. So it's just another refresher to be grateful about
insane
stuff. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Gratitude is the most powerful emotion that you can practice to attract what you want in your life.
Yeah.
So love and gratitude are the most powerful emotions, but gratitude is more powerful than love. A lot of people don't know that. Everybody thinks that love is like the ultimate feeling that you can have. It's not. The ultimate ecstasy feeling is gratitude. Like, dude, it's crazy. Sometimes I'll be driving in my car, I'll be coming down the hill, and I just, the morning looks so beautiful. I just look out at the morning and I'm like, God, this is a beautiful morning. Like, thank you for letting me just see this right now.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, bro, nothing could mess up that day. To start a day like that, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a beautiful thing. Brother, great talk, man. I appreciate your time. I know you have another speaking engagement right after this. If somebody wants to reach out, I know you have events that are coming up. Tell us a little bit about that, and then tell us also if somebody wants to get a hold of you, where's the best place to reach you at? Yeah,
so my Instagram, right now, I'm still responding to all my DMs. It gets exhausting, but I still do it. I'm at FKN Michael Martinez, so that's my Instagram, FKN Michael Martinez. And I'm having a real estate investing event March 29th, March 30th in Orange County, Huntington Beach at the Paseo Hotel. What we're doing is we're introducing real estate wholesaling to a lot of real estate agents that don't know, number one, what wholesaling is, how to do it, how to leverage it to 10x their income. And we're also teaching new people that want to get into real estate how you can get started with little to absolutely no money and make millions of dollars in the industry. I have the biggest wholesalers in the country that are going to be speaking at the event.
Nice.
Sean Terry, Nick Perry, these are some of the names that'll be there. Eric Klein is like the #1 sales guy right now for the industry. I also have syndicators coming in. Chris and Maricela are direct mentees of Grant Cardone. They're like the biggest syndicators in the 10X community. They're going to be there speaking about what they do and how they do it. Javier Hinojo's another huge syndicator, so he'll be there.
I know Javier.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah, love
he's hilarious. So it's going to be a great time, and they can get their tickets on my profile, on my link, on my bio. And dude, we're gonna have a great time, and we're gonna put everybody up on game. They're gonna be learning from the biggest, most successful. Eric Klein will be there, and Robert Wensley, Investor Lift, is gonna sponsor it. He's also gonna drop some game on how to sell your deals.
Sharp dude, man.
Yeah,
I was talking to him last night. Sharp dude.
Yeah, he's a genius. I call him the Mark Zuckerberg of real estate.
of real estate. Yeah, no joke. That's incredible, man. It's gonna be. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be a great event. Like, if you want to step up, level up, you have to get in the right rooms. I had that stigma too. I'm not gonna pay for education. I can go to YouTube University and then just learn it all. But it's not. You may learn. It's like trying to play with a broken box of Legos, right? Pieces are gonna be there, but it's hard to put them together. And then next thing you're done with it. So being in the right rooms matters. The connections and the relationships that you build in the right rooms, I mean, those matter even more. So it's a big opportunity anytime something like this comes up. So if you're listening and you're interested in real estate, you're going to be in the Cali area, make sure you hit them up.
Absolutely. Yep.
Bro, one last question before we sign off. If you were walking down the street and you ran into your 17-year-old self, what piece of advice would you give that kid?
Stop being an idiot.
You had that on clock, man.
Yeah. Well, as soon as you said 17 years, either 17 years back or 17 years old, either way, I was an idiot. I would tell myself, first of all, when you start finding a little bit of success, check your ego.
Yeah.
And number 2, consume yourself with knowledge. Practical knowledge that you can use, because life can be beautiful if you know how to play the game.
Love it. Wise words. Fam, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Reach out to Mike. I mean, this dude is solid.
Thanks,
I've seen you since you hopped on the scene, so no joke, man. A big respect for you, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
Pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate the time.
You.
Fam, with that being said, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay focused. You got this.